Shalom lekulam from Keren B'Avne and Choref Bari, as we say here in Israel. In last week's parasha, Adam HaRishon is told, Hinei natati lachem et kol esev zera al pnei chol haaretz ve'et kol etz asher bo pri etz zera lachem yad le'ochla. Adam HaRishon is permitted to eat nothing else from animals, only fruits, esev zera, some sort of vegetables, but not animals. In contrast, post the Mabul, in this week's parsha, Noach is told, Kol remes in Perek Teh Pasuk Gimel, Kol remes asher hu chai lachem yeh le'ochla, ki רק עשב נתתי לכם את כל. You're permitted now to eat remes asher hu chai. You're permitted to eat animals. What happened? Was there a mistake? What changed? Why was it that Adam HaRishon was not permitted to eat animals and Noach is permitted to eat animals? So Rav Kook, in one of his, of course, he wrote many different things. He has an essay, Parva, a larger ma'amar. He wrote something called the Chazon HaTzimchonut VaShalom, of which he addresses this topic. It's quite lengthy, and I'm only going to give a bit of the main idea they present, which is really a nuanced perspective, and I think very interesting for those who are vegetarian or for those who are thinking about being vegetarian to consider of what it means, what should be our relationship currently with regards to animals and specifically eating animals. Before presenting Rav Kook's answer, Rav Kook points out that the heter, that which we are permitted to eat animals, to eat meat, is heter bekoshi. Let's say it's not an easy sort of heter. If you look at the Torah and Sefer Dvarim Perek Beis, the pasuk says v'amarta uchala basar. When you're going to say, I want to eat meat, you have a taiva to eat meat, so then, Rav Kook points out, the implication is, we know the Torah can be darshan from whatever the Torah says, the Torah says, yes, you can imply the no, and no can imply the yes, the flip side of the coin. So here it says, when you say, when you have a desire to eat animal meat, so then there's a heter for it. The implication is if you don't have such a desire, there is no heter. In fact, Rav Kook suggests the reason why there's no isser written to eat human meat, be a cannibal, is because we all feel that that's not the right thing. We don't need the Torah to tell us that. It's obviously usser. It's obviously not permitted. And therefore he says, we see first of all from here, that eating meat is not a simple thing. It's if you're in a moral situation where it doesn't bother you, and you have a desire to eat animal meat, then it's permitted. A second maramakum that he brings is the Gemara in Pesachim Daf Mem Tet, where the Gemara says that for Am Haaretz, asur le'achol basar. Very strong the Gemara for Am Haaretz. Not sure how to define Amars exactly, but a person who's not learning, doesn't for the Chora Kiviyat Itim and is connected to spirituality and to Avodat Hashem, for him it's forbidden to eat meat. Where does the Gemara darshan this from? Pasuk says, Zot Torat Abeima Va'of. This is the Torah Abeima Va'of, and the Gemara darshans, Kol Ha'osek B'Torah. If you're learning Torah, you're involved in Torah, then Mutar L'Achol Basar Va'of. So what is the answer? So I once heard a story before presenting what Rav Kook says. I once heard a story that in Yerushalayim one time, Rosh Hashanah saw some father that was schlepping some heavy, whatever it was, on Shabbos afternoon, and walking next to him was what looked like the son. And the father is, a little bit older, and he looks like he's working hard, and Shvitzi and says, walking next to him, and Rav Shlomo Auerbach says to the son, he says, why is it that you're not helping your father? And the son says, I don't hold by the Eruv. And Shlomo Auerbach gives him Musar, he says, what do you mean? Of course, certainly there's a place to be machmir, perhaps, with regards to Achos Erevin, whatever your chomer is, that's fine, but every chomer is only appropriate in the correct context. Every chomer needs to be judged according to the situation where you're currently in, where you're holding. With that idea in mind, that not every chomer, not every ideal is always applicable depending upon the circumstance, one can understand Rav Kook's answer. And the Kook's basic idea is that after the shchitut, after the world, mankind, perhaps animals as well, were acting in ways which were not proper, there was the mapul. Humankind fell down a moral level. We were no longer on the level of Adam HaRishon and those who were closer to Hashem, but we had a moral slip and we fell down a level. As such, in a world where even till today, certainly we struggle with mankind, we have war and stealing and cheating and, respect the other people's opinions and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, look at politics in any country and it's probably, we see the struggles that mankind struggles with. It would be laughable and out of place to be machmir, so to speak, to be mekayim, to indeed fulfill the ideal, which is the ideal, to be able to relate to animals with their true value and their true worth. Animals are of value, and they are living beings, and they are closer to Hashem than vegetation and rocks and so on and so forth. But in our current situation, within the context that mankind as a whole, mankind as a totality is currently in, where we struggle with all sorts of moral issues much more basic than our relationship to animals, is out of place to treat animals as humans, so to speak, and to prohibit eating them. Rather, it is ra'ui, is the lashon of Rav Kook. The one dafka should. Again, I'm not saying whether it's be a vegetarian, not be vegetarian. Rav Kook says the lashon of ra'ui, it is fitting, it is proper even to dafka to eat animals at this stage of humankind where we lack moral perfection. Why is that? Because if we relate to animals too much as human, we prop up the animals on the moral scale and connect them more like humans, what likely is going to happen instead of us also rising up, rather, if we'll probably define ourselves more closely to animals, and we will slide down. Perhaps think about PETA. As such, says Rav Kook, within our current within the humankind's current moral situation, it is proper even to eat animals, and he says, Bezrat Hashem, when the world will eventually come to his perfection, to his moral perfection, we have the idea from last week's parasha, Hashem created the world b'midat hadin. There's the idea that although currently we need to also have midat rachamim, we'll go back to living an ideal life the way it was supposed to be envisioned with only midat hadin. At that point, humankind will be able to once again rise up and to refrain from eating animals, which certainly is, says Rav Kook, the higher moral ethical mode in which we should act. Shabbat Shalom.